It's Ellen Violette. Happy Saturday. I was talking to a client yesterday and something came up that I thought was very interesting and that I wanted to share my thoughts about. What she said to me was that she was a lifetime learner and that the more money she spent on learning, the less money she was making. And I don't mean from just buying the products, but from the value that she got out of them and how they worked in her business. And so I thought, I really want to talk about this because I definitely have some opinions on this subject. So I've been in the business since 2004, and I have spent a lot of money on products, a lot of money on mentors, probably about $100,000 now, maybe a little less. And some have worked great, some haven't worked at all, and some have sort of worked. And so I definitely, have opinions about this. So what I wanted to say about it is I want to talk about different kinds of systems. I'm trying to get on my page so I can just kind of see what's going on here. Okay. So I want to talk about different kinds of systems, and the first one that I have been through myself is a system that only works by timing the market. So my husband and I got into a program, and it was a real estate program, and they were pushing a certain way of doing things. And by the time we got pressured a lot into buying property. And by the time we did it, it was too late. Actually, we'd made a lot of money in real estate, but this was the last one. And I kind of decided I wasn't going to buy anymore at that point just because the market was hot. But we got, pushed into getting told how great it was and how it worked and everything. And so we were buying, fixing, and selling houses. And we bought this house, and we made it beautiful, of course, as we made all our properties. And what ended up happening is that when we put it on the market, people would come and say, oh, well, I'm going to wait 6 months because the media is telling me that the prices of houses is going to go down. And so we couldn't sell it, and we lost a lot of money. So that's the first time. The first one is timing the market. The next one is systems that promise results but don't deliver them. And we've all been through those too, where they tell you you're going to get something and you don't get it. So that is not good. And that's just, pretty straightforward. It's just something that's promised and it just doesn't work. And part of that is sometimes it's not that it doesn't work necessarily, but it doesn't work for you. And there are a lot of reasons why that can happen. One is that, we're all wired differently. And so if something is not doable for you, if something's not easy for you, you're not going to be able to do it. So for instance, I was on a teleseminar, a webinar yesterday. See, when I started, there were no webinars. But I was on a webinar yesterday and with one of my strategic partners, Jeff Hunter, and he's amazing. And Jeff was talking about learning how to create a team and outsourcing. And I was just thinking, he did such a great job, and I'm really excited because we're actually going to do this together next week, so you'll be able to see it. Stay tuned for that. But it was so exciting because it's so great. But what I thought was, wow, his mind works this way, because what he said was his wheelhouse is project management. His wheelhouse is figuring out these kinds of systems. I couldn't figure these kinds of systems out in a million years because my mind doesn't work that way. Or systems where there's a lot of analytics and a lot of numbers and a lot of, that kind of thing. That's not my wheelhouse. So those don't work very well for me. So it has to be a good fit. And then once it's a good fit, it also has to, be laid out in a way that you can do it. So a lot of times I'll have people come to me and they've actually taken other courses on writing books, for example, and they'll say to me, "Oh, I took that. It was just too complex." Whereas I make it really simple, and I don't come from an internet background. I don't come from an analytical background. I come from a writing background. I come from a creative background. So people who resonate with that resonate more with what I have to teach. So that's another reason why it may not work for somebody. And then the third reason is it's just a bad program. And unfortunately, there are some of those out there, and there's not much you can do about that. So that's that. Okay, and then there are other systems, or when I say systems, I mean like a program that you get, or a workshop that you take or whatever, and that is called, it's a system. They're going to teach you a system for how to do something. So systems that lead you to get a result that it was not set up to get. So, in other words, maybe you get told that you're going to get a certain kind of result with it, or somehow you infer that you're going to get a certain kind of result with something, and that's not what you get. So, and I've been in some of those too, where I thought I was going to learn a complete system to do something, and then as I was in the course, I realized I was only getting a piece of it, and once it was done, I'd already spent a lot of money, and I didn't really want to spend more on that, and yet I didn't have everything I needed to complete it, and that is not a good thing to do, but some people do that so that they can, they can upsell you. And then other people do it where they'll maybe have a program and the right way to do it, which is, I'm thinking of one that I took that was in 3 parts. And the first part was kind of beginner, and the second part was, intermediate, and the third part was advanced. But it wasn't advertised in a way that made me think I was going to get everything in the first part. So sometimes it's just being honest about what it is that you're selling, or what it is that you're teaching. So that's another one. And then sometimes, and I think this is the most important thing to know about this, which is sometimes systems are disconnected from the rest of your business. So for instance, let's say you go and you learn how to do something and you go, that's great, but how does that fit into my business? And I think this is where most people kind of fall down. Whereas, you get a piece here, you get a piece there, you get another piece somewhere else, and then you're sitting there going, okay, well, how do these pieces work together? And so when you have that, what happens is you've got yourself going off in 100 different directions. It's not set up strategically so they're all flowing into each other. Okay, like a river into an ocean, or a bunch of tributaries, and instead they're just going off in all different directions. So, that really doesn't work either. As a matter of fact, I think that's the one that's really the most damaging, because and especially if you're like me and you're a lifetime learner and you love to learn, and so you buy things and they catch your interest, and it just ends up being a big mess. So one of the ways to get around that, number one, is to really understand what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then only buy things, if you're buying in pieces, only buy things that support what it is you're doing. Otherwise, what you want to do is, what was I going to say about that? Okay. So it's disconnected from your business and it's not working. And now I just forgot totally what I was going to say, but it was important. I know. The most important point I wanted to make, which is that what I find works best is to find a complete system, as opposed to a system to do one thing and a system to do another thing. In other words, if you go to somebody and you wanted to, have a system to create and market a business, okay, and how are you going to do that? And instead of saying, okay, well, I'm going to get podcasting over here and LinkedIn over there and over here and this one over there and ads over here, and you just go on and on and on, and you just got all these things that aren't working together. So what I recommend is getting with somebody where they've got a complete system that is in your wheelhouse. Okay, and so what I mean by that, like I was saying before, people who like to work with me, people who are creative, people who are verbal, people who have a message they want to get out, as opposed to people who love numbers and people who love analytics. And I'm not saying you don't have analytics or that you don't use them. I'm just saying where the whole process is built on that, and so that's what your focus is, and they love that stuff. I don't love it. It's like, for me, that's something I have to do, but it's not what I love. So I would rather be writing books and doing bestseller launches and creating my marketing plan to use that to grow my business, and using my book to repurpose for articles and a signature program and videos and other things. So in other words, I have a system and it all works together. It's called the Bestseller Business Blueprint. So that's how I want people to think. It's like and then once you've done a program where you've got something that works, and you're moving from thing to thing to thing to thing, and you're building one on top of the other. It's like a set of Legos, where you build your foundation, and then your next level, and your next level, and your next level, and it just keeps growing and getting better. That's what you want. What you don't want is a Lego over here and a Lego over here and no way to connect them. That's what you don't want. So that's the thing to think about. And then the other thing, of course, is, when you're looking for a business model, to really think about that, and don't let yourself just take at face value what other people say. Because again, what works for one person might not necessarily work for you. It might not work in your niche. It might not work for your personality. It might not work for the way that you think. I work with people writing books. Some people can write a book and just follow and go right straight through. Other people could not organize a book to save their lives. And they need me to sit down with them and help them organize their outline so that they can actually write their book, because their brains are wired differently. Okay, so that's what you need to understand. And then you need to honor your own way of thinking and your own way of being and what you want to do. So in other words, like a lot of times people will just set goals and then they start out to do it, but they get frustrated because their brain isn't wired the way that the program that they're trying to do it with, or the system they're trying to do it with, it doesn't mesh. So you need to understand yourself and what you want, and then find a mentor, find a coach, find a product, a program, whatever, that supports that. So, that's really what I wanted to say today. So there are all different kinds of systems. There's all kinds of reasons why they don't work, or why they don't work for you, and that you need to honor yourself, find one that works for you, work with somebody who has a complete system that from beginning to end that you can get what it is you're trying to get. So for instance, when I teach people how to write an ebook, I don't just teach them how to write an ebook. The last module is, okay, now what do you do? They learn to edit, they learn to format, and then they learn what the best ways are to get started marketing. So at least they have somewhere to go to take the next step without having to pay more money to do anything. So that's what I want people to avoid. Is it's great to spend more money to get more learning, but not to have to spend more money to even make the first thing that you bought work. So that's why systems don't work, and that's how they can work, is just being aware of this stuff, and then doing your due diligence and making sure that you're buying a system that works for you, and also that it either isn't timing the market or that it's the right time. And in that case, you might make some mistakes, but I prefer not to buy those kind. So that's it for today. Have a great Saturday. Bye-bye.